So one thing that I find pretty interesting here is that you talked about some of the environmental challenges right now. As a coach, maybe this could be personal. Um, as a coach, what are some of the biggest challenges you face currently in your position? Um, what are some of the hardships? Like what makes it difficult for you, and what do you consider to be a challenge on a daily basis?
Different backgrounds.
So many things.
Yeah. There's a lot of challenges, and I think one of them are mainly the backgrounds, mainly the ones that our club at Chelsea Rovers, we have 20 different nationalities at least. We are an English team with maybe 4 English players. So, if I don't know, just if customs and immigration would come in, they would double check everybody's papers, because it's like we got 4 guys from England. But jokes aside, the biggest challenge is to make sure that I get to know each and every player on a personal level. We're talking about players, but on the end of the day, these guys are human beings, right? So they have their own lives, they have their own families, workplaces, relationships. So getting to know the guys and earning their respect is, I think, the biggest challenge. Emphasizing that I'm there for them. Because if I don't earn their respect, no matter who I am or what I know, it will be very difficult for me to work with them. Yeah.
Yes. So, speaking of, building a healthy relationship with the players, how important, especially at youth level, at the grassroots level, how important is winning at that level? Because the cliche, or maybe it's not a cliche, you let me know what you think, but what a lot of people say is that results don't matter at the grassroots level. But one can argue, and I've seen this argument being made before, and I don't know, like I don't really have a personal opinion on this because I'm not a coach, I'm not an expert in this, but a winning culture since a young age is something that should be embraced for young players. And, as a coach, what is your opinion on this? And I'm sure it's the balance that makes this thing really important. So as a coach, how do you balance winning and developing a player's skills? How do you move yourself back and forth, like in terms of, transitioning from one to the other?
I think this is a hot topic. It's a common topic at grassroots level, and I'm glad you asked it. Again, this is my personal opinion, right or wrong. I worked many years with people in hospitality, so I got really great people skills, thank God, because of working with different cultures around the world. Do you know what, Steve? To be honest, it's important and it's not. Why? At grassroots levels, if I put too much pressure on a child, I can lose that child's interest in football. But then again, we talked about being soft too much, and we talked about being hard too much. So it's finding that fine balance. Just to sum it up, progress instead of perfection. That is important in a journey. So perfection would be winning, progress is learning. Obviously, the team, the coach has to decide what level are they playing, because going out every weekend getting battered 20-0 is demoralizing and you will lose your players. But playing in a league where you lose some, you win some, you play some draws is fine as well. And the biggest challenge on this level is also the parents. Because probably you heard about this before, parents coming down on the weekends, shouting on the side, the different instructions to the children, coach saying one thing, parents saying another thing. It's quite confusing for the kid. It's a tough cookie, but I would say for me, results are not as important as the progress itself. Because, in a few years when you become a professional football player, you're not going to remember losing games 5-2, 5-1 or 10-0. You're going to remember the progress that you had in order to become who you are. But again, this has to be balanced out as well. You don't want to be like, I heard in the States, they say, oh, it's fine to lose. We can't demote. I think in MLS, right? There's no second league. So they're like, yeah, whatever. Well, not really. So again, it has to be balanced out. The right environment has to be created.
See, so as a follow-up to that question, we hear a lot about, the importance of, coaches having a clear vision and philosophy all the time. Philosophy is a key word. We hear that we hear that everywhere now, even in mainstream media. But I wanted to ask you, as a football coach, the way you look at it, can this be a hindrance at the grassroots level when it comes to coaching your players? Because what if you coach a kid, I don't know, at the under 17 level or what have you? What if you coach this kid to flourish in a, just to put this out there, in a positionally fluid, intricate passing game, but then he goes on and plays in a completely different context once he meets another coach at the under 19 or under 20 or even senior level? And would it perhaps, make more sense to coach players to be more versatile in terms of how and what style of football they play? Because we talk about football philosophy all the time and how important it is to have a uniform way of playing across all age groups. I hear that a lot, and it makes a lot of sense. But as a coach yourself, what's your opinion on it?
Tough cookie, because if we talk about philosophy, I think a lot of coaches will give different answers. As we say, a player be versatile, right? We want a versatile player to be able to play different positions, we said, and also to understand the game. But we're not mentioning a versatile coach, because I'm a coach, this is what you're going to play. I might have a fantastic player that is amazing on the ball, very creative, a great number 10. And then I want a 10 that's more defensive and more like a robot, just follow my plan. I'm losing out on a great player because he doesn't fit into my system. Again, this is my belief. I believe that coaches should adjust to players because the player is the protagonist. We have to tailor our sessions around them and also our tactics. We shouldn't be like, this is my philosophy, wherever I go, I bring it with myself. I should be versatile. This is the environment I'm in. These are the type of people I'm working with. What can I bring out of them? How can I use their natural competencies as end products? I'm not going to make a screwdriver out of a hammer, as we said before. So you give me a screwdriver, I'm going to maximize the screwdriver. Player-wise, at youth levels, obviously, play as many positions as you can, up to, I would say, 14, 15. That's when you crystallize the level, the position of a player. That's where you start focusing on that 1 to 2 positions where the player will be. Because then you're working on tactics, positioning, awareness. It's more in-depth detail. That's where high-level coaching comes in, more professional coaching. But I don't believe that coaches... I'll give another example. Norwich City. All age groups follow the same style of play, which I understand. Those are the house rules. However, every 2-3 months we have a trialist coming in, grassroots players. And I've seen great grassroots players coming in. Some of them, unfortunately, didn't make it. And I can tell you that some of them had better skills on the ball than the ones that are already at the academy. Why didn't they make it? Because their style doesn't suit Norwich's style. What if that player, in a year or 2 years, gets scouted with another team? And we've seen it so many times. It's like we don't learn from our mistakes. We've seen it so many times that a player doesn't get a contract because whoever was running the club or the academy or the coach, and then in 2 years he goes to Man United, gets a contract. In 10 years' time, he's worth 100 million. There we go. Because you were not versatile as a coach or a manager or a club, not open-minded, you just lost on a good product, if I could say that way. So that's just my opinion.
And also, speaking of which, then in that case, as a coach, how do you nurture or, develop a player at youth level who's already so dominant in terms of, his physical features or his athletic ability, those innate abilities, I would say? For example, a player who's about 185 centimeters, over 6 feet tall at age 15 or 16, most likely he's going to dominate his peers and overpower his peers in that age group when he plays in games. But once he reaches older age groups and the closer he gets to the senior level, players who would be as tall as him would be commonplace. You know what I mean? So and another example would be a 16-year-old player who is ridiculously fast, let's say. He can probably outpace his opponents in his age group and be able to create chances for himself or his teammates or what have you. But once he gets a little bit older, he plays in a higher level competition, he's going to run into players who are just as fast as him. So when you have a player like that, I often see those types of players, especially in youth tournaments. These are dominant players, but you see them relying on their innate abilities at a time when they should be developing as players, developing their football skills as players, but you see them relying on their physical features. You see them relying on their athletic abilities. But as a coach, I'm pretty sure it's tempting to use those abilities because they can win you games. So how do you navigate through that as a coach? And how do you coach a player who's physically already so mature at the grassroots level?
Well, to be honest, I think it's a lot of coaches do this and a lot of clubs as well, where players like that get moved up 1 to 2 age groups above their own age group. So they get exposed to a little bit more physicality, more speed, more higher level of football. And that's quite a common thing. We at Norwich City, we have some of the under 12s. They used to play for our under 14s, for example, because they were just too good to play at the under 12s because they're physically larger, faster, stronger. Every player has 2 growth sprouts in their lifetime. One is around 10, 11, and one is around 14, 15. That's when the players grow, and they kind of lose a little bit of coordination because their muscles are stretching, their bones are growing, and they're losing their agility. So we try to kind of expose them to higher age groups, higher levels. Players at 16, it's a very interesting topic because we had a player that joined us when he was 15 at Chelsea Rovers, and we put him in straight adult football in a Sunday league. And that player became so good, he's going to be 18 this year. He got an offer from Watford, which was that time Premier League. Now I think they dropped to the EFL. And in a few weeks, I think on the 29th of July, I managed to call down the scout of Norwich City, so they're going to have a look at him as well. Exposing these players to adult football at that age, 15, 16, I think it's really important. But obviously the level of football they're being exposed in adult football is important. So don't put too competitive level, but it's more the physical side of it, making that player come out of his shell, kind of manning up, I would say. You know what I mean? Like when you send someone to the army, he comes back as a man. That's something that I'm thinking about here. Okay, you're 15, you're big, you're strong. Do you know what? Come play adult football. So that's also a good process to do. We have 2 players now. One was 14 and 15 when he joined us, and both of them are big, massive. You would think they're 18. Right. They play for our Sunday league team, the development team, and they came with us to Serbia, and they just broke out of their shells. They changed so much in the past year. I mean, it's amazing to see that.
So it's more of a case of promoting those players to higher level competition would encourage them to add on to what they already have. Is that sort of like, am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you leave them in the same age group, you can also try using different challenges and conditions. If a player is too strong and he's a right-footed player, you can say, look, Steve, let's say you're 15 and you're too strong. I'll say, Steve, you can't use your right foot. Steve, you can only use your left foot. Or Steve, you can only do 3 touches. Or Steve, every second touch has to be, a positive touch forward. So I'll give you a little bit of a more challenge there to make it a little bit more difficult for you, but not too difficult in order for you to progress. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, perfectly. And the last question that I have prepared is, I think, a little bit of a continuation of that, because we hear the term complete player a lot, especially in the media. And we hear coaches talk about this too in press conferences. A complete player, as a coach, is there such thing as a complete player? In your opinion, from a coaching perspective, is there such thing as a complete player or a perfect player? Because I feel like perfect and complete are 2 different things. But, as a coach, are there such things as complete or perfect players?
Interesting question. I think this could be a question where we can debate on for many hours with different coaches. Again, just my personal opinion is that I don't think there is such a thing as a complete player, because as in life, we always continue to learn. It's a never-ending process. Complete player. Let's say if there was a complete player, then we would say a complete player for a certain situation in a certain position. Because what a complete player is for you in your football philosophy and the style of play might not be a complete player for me in my football philosophy and style of play. So it depends again on the environment that you put him in and what do you need from him. So my answer is more on the no side, if I can say that. Yeah, a complete player. Okay, let me rephrase that. If I would say a complete player, it's the attitude and the mindset. That mentality, if that's the right one, then for me, you're kind of complete, because then I can work with you. We can work together of making you better. So yes and no. I would rephrase that to yes and no.
Okay, cool. Do we have any extra questions or anything you want to ask him, Younghoon? Because I might have one more thing. I just want to ask Norbert if he has anything more to add. As an interviewee. But if we have any additional questions, I think we can drop it here right now, and we just move from there.
About complete player, in my opinion, it's my personal opinion, so there's no right or wrong. But in my opinion, complete player. For example, I think Arturo Vidal is kind of complete player for me because tactically and physically and mentally and technically in four perspectives, he can play in anywhere in any team. I think in Barcelona he worked pretty well, and in Inter, in Juventus, he played very well. So, and also in multiple positions, he's very, very versatile. But the reason what makes him in that way is he understands the game more than other players, So he can adapt his abilities to different contexts. So it makes him complete player than other. But it doesn't mean he's a perfect player. I think even Lionel Messi is not a perfect player, but maybe he can be more complete than other player. So I think I have a different perspective about this, but I think your opinion again I also acceptable. I think. Sorry.
It's interesting. No, don't be sorry. It's very interesting what you said, because while you were saying this, in my head I went back to the question where we said versatile player, right? Is it good to have a versatile player in different positions? And then probably Arturo Vidal used to play in different positions as a kid, was rotated around. Was he stressful about it? I don't know. Maybe you have to ask him. But because of that, he impressed you, and for you, he became the complete player, I would say, at a certain level, right? So again, this is just another answer for your question previously. It's good to have a versatile player, because that's the outcome, yeah. But thank you for sharing it.
No.
Because the question that we covered, these are pretty extensive questions that require extensive answers. So I think these 10 questions just about sum it up, man. I think we covered a lot of different topics. So maybe one thing that I would like you to add is, you don't have to have it, but is there anything else that you want to add, that you kind of anything else you wanted to say, or anything else you wanted to add, so that can go along with this interview that perhaps I forgot or didn't manage to ask you?
I would like to add one thing, yeah, and it's going to be in regards to CTH.
Sure.
Because we have all these questions, we spoke all about these players and coaches and philosophies and whatnot. And to be honest, I've seen so many coaches that have higher levels than myself, and have UFIAs and pros, but it's not about what you know. It's about how you use what you know in the given situation, the given environment, being versatile, being adaptive. So with CTH, this is why we stand out from the crowd, because everywhere you go, even if you do a UEFA license, you'll go a day or two, or maybe a whole week if you do residential, right? And you'll go on the pitch, you'll see other people train, you'll see other people set up their sessions and whatnot, and then maybe you'll do it once or twice. You'll get some online modules, you get a book, go home, study, learn, come back, do your exam. You became a UEFA B coach, a UFI. Obviously, they encourage you to coach in a club and practice it, right? So you have to have your own club. But it's really difficult to find a club that will provide you this. With CTH, we're an education system where we don't just give you the theoretical side. We'll say, you know what? This is what we learned this week. Now let's go and practice it. See how it comes to life. See it in different multiple scenarios. And the beauty of it, that you're doing it at grassroots level, where you have to be so flexible and adaptive, because players are coming late. Some of them are just coming to have fun. Some of them are serious. The environment is much tougher than a professional environment, because if you go to an academy, you say, give me 10 laps, they'll go to do 10 laps without asking you. You come here, you say, give me 10 laps, It'll be a little bit of a different answer in the story. So you have to be adaptive and creative. Problem solving skills at this level are going to be massive for you once you move up to higher levels. My first session at Norwich City was like, wow, this is easy. What's next? Because it was just, so well set up, so well organized, and mainly because of the players who are there because they know they want to be professionals. Here, it's a tough cookie, but that's what we provide at CTH. We create the perfect environment for coaches to practice, learn, and develop themselves. And we don't ask them to follow our style of play. We encourage them to express themselves, build up their character as a coach and their own philosophy, and expose their natural competencies as a person. So I think it's a nice twist there.
Yeah, perfect. No, I probably should have asked you about CTH. I actually forgot to include that question. But yeah.
Norbert, is kind of personal, but you said you're in the middle of a master degree, right? In St. Mary University.
In St. Mary's, yes. I just started it this year.
How is it? Because today we talked about importance of emotions in football. So because in Barcelona University, I think you already know who is Paco Seirulo. He was the fitness coach with Johan Cruyff, and he's very key man in Spanish football. So maybe 50 years ago, Barcelona they already knew the importance of the emotion. So during the training sessions, they still trying to control, or they're trying to promote the positive emotion and try to turn down the negative emotion. So I just wonder, you already know about this topic, or you already deal with this kind of topic in your master degree?
So the master's degree is football coaching and performance, and the main topic is sports science and pedagogy. So it will have a lot of psychological aspects to it. Again, as I said, I just started it now, literally on Monday. So I still don't know how this is going to go. It's a 1-year course. I'm doing the full-time one. But I do understand what you're trying to say. As you said, the gentleman Paco, he was the main lecturer on the online courses with Barcelona as well. And again, I firmly believe that the emotional side, the psychological side is the most important side to bring out the best of a player. Because if we systemize football, every system can be broken down. But the natural competence, the creativity of a player who's having fun. I mean, look at Ronaldinho. He was having fun. He was like enjoying himself, and he didn't sweat. It's hard to compete against someone that's having fun, because it's way too easy for them. So bringing out the right emotions, I agree with you. That is very important. And that's probably, as I said, the most difficult. Different nationalities, different backgrounds. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
It's been awesome to set aside time like this, to connect with a football coach like you, who's actively pursuing things in English football and also across Europe. I mean, for me, it's an honor because, like I said, I've been involved in football directly or indirectly for the last 15 years or so, but I've never considered myself an expert because I don't really look at myself that way. That's not me trying to downgrade myself or anything like that. But I think just as a football writer, our job is not being a football expert. Our job is about speaking with football experts so we can deliver information that the public might need about football. And, so to have this opportunity, because I don't get a lot of opportunities like this, working for mainstream media. I never had a chance to have an interview like this, when I was a football writer at goal.com. It's kind of also even hard to do it editorially at FIFA as well, because it's just a different type of content. So for me to have this opportunity, it's been awesome. And I just want to go around and ask Young-hoon how he felt about our time today, the conversation that we had, and like what you're looking forward to. If you can sort of like give us your thoughts on what we did today, that'd be great.
I think we had a conversation with many qualities, because we talked about emotions, we talked about environmental changes, and we talked about many other things. many other things, but with football, there those kind of things all are connected with football. But normally, many people just don't understand how it is. So I think we were trying to deal with it. So I think this direction is our objective, or our, I don't know, maybe our way to go. So I think we have to keep going in this way. And I just want to thank you to Norbert for having us.
Thank you
Yeah,
for having
Norbert.
me.
Yeah, if you can kind of give us your thoughts on it as well. Like, what are your feelings about having an opportunity like this? Because this is not an opportunity that comes to any of us pretty often, to sit down and actually talk about these things. So, how did you feel about it? What kind of impact do you think a content like this can have on the coaching community? So yeah, if you can just share your thoughts a little bit before we wrap up here.
Well, as I said again, thank you kindly for having me. It was an honor and a pleasure, and thank you for having this opportunity to express myself. My feelings, I was a bit nervous in the beginning because I wasn't sure what I'm going to say, and I know I'm going to mess out some stuff on my head, be like, oh, I wanted to say that and I didn't say that and that and that. But the most important part that I'm looking forward to is listening back to this and hearing what exactly did I say, and was it more mechanic, subconscious, or was it something more natural? Because I can kind of catch up, when people speak, you can hear the flow, or you can be like having that little organic conversation. And I think what was mentioned here, that the topic is heading toward the right direction about the emotional side. I think we should focus on coaches. Why are you a coach? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because, okay, we said football philosophy, all this, but why? If you can answer the why, then you know what you're doing, you're heading the right direction. So, yeah, again, just all about emotional intelligence for me.
Okay, great. I think that about sums it up for episode number 1 of CTH Podcast. Thank you everybody for joining us. I'm sure this is going to be a long-lasting friendship, so I'm sure we'll be in touch. Maybe we'll have you back on the show pretty soon. So, yeah, thank you so much, and talk to you guys later. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Thank you, guys.